Then we only have do we have any other business that we'd like to bring to the committee? Yes.
Yeah. Can I just speak to competition insurance for pilots who are flying overseas? I think those of us who do that know that you can't get cover for medical expenses. But when I was in New Zealand recently, one of the pilots was an insurance broker and came up with an ingenious solution to it, which I certainly wasn't aware of, and those I have mentioned it to have been quite interested in it. And that's personal accident insurance or total permanent disability insurance, which many of us may already have through our superannuation policies. What he sells to New Zealand pilots is a personal accident insurance policy, which is very cheap, only costs something in the order of $10, $15 a week, something like that. And if you have a catastrophic accident, you pay out a lump sum. And it will do it for specific injuries as well. It takes a bit of time to come through, unlike a medical insurance thing. But if you were overseas in a competition and you had some catastrophic injury that required medical expenses in an overseas hospital, you know that down the line, in maybe 2-3 months, you're going to get a lump sum from this policy. And generally, these policies don't have restrictions on your activities. They're often part of superannuation policies. The one he runs is through Zurich, Australia, but it's limited to New Zealand pilots, so you can't actually access it if you're in Australia. I thought this was a fantastic solution to me until I discovered that I was too old to get one.
That's what I was going to mention. Anybody over 59 can't get it.
You can't get it.
Is that required permanent disability?
No, you have to look at the policy. There's lots of different ones, and you can look them up on Finder and do comparisons on Google. But there is total and permanent disability. That's probably not the one you want. You want personal accident insurance, which says if you break a leg, we will give you X. Right. It's designed to stop the loss of income, so that's what it's for. But it can work quite well for the situation of being uninsured in a competition overseas.
So the policies are put out in Australia or exclude sports aviation?
Well, the one that he's using...
The difference in New Zealand is...
Because ACC, right?
That's right, because they've got ACC in New Zealand, like most accidents are just covered by the government up to a some amount. And they can get competition insurance from AXA in New Zealand, we can't, right? If you're a resident in New Zealand, you can get that insurance.
Well, I'm not sure that ACC in New Zealand is going to cover you for medical expenses incurred in an accident.
The thing is that in New Zealand you're covered and then you're covered
The point is that if you have an accident which requires you to be treated for incur medical expenses in a hospital in an overseas, you're screwed. Until you get repatriated. But if you had this insurance and you had one of those specific injuries, you know there would be a lump sum coming.
But what I'm saying, I've looked at a lot of policies in Australia, because I look every year at 50 policies, I reckon, and they all exclude sports aviation.
Well, is this something that SAPA could look into on our behalf?
Yes,
we looking at it.
Specifically for this permanent disability route?
We couldn't get it.
Okay.
There are...
Not in a way that was at all feasible.
So the main thing is to get back to Australia, right? So you're going to incur some hospital expenses immediately, but like global rescue covers to be repatriated to Australia, and then all your expenses are covered by the PPA.
Yeah, as soon as you can be repatriated.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are certain injuries where you can't be repatriated.
No doubt, but at least that's something, and you can get limited cover. Unfortunately, it's probably only €30,000 for accidents, which is no good in Switzerland.
So you can get insurance through like AXA in Europe for a competition at like
$200 a week.
$200 for a comp. It will only cover like $30,000.
€200 a comp.
Because our legal paradigm is different to New Zealand. Like New Zealand, they can just go to cover more and get comp insurance, right? And the same insurance here just says no, right? And it's across the board. So your best bet is global rescue to get back and then suck up whatever it costs it is to be able to be repatriated.
So the one that we had in SAPA, we used to have a personal accident insurance policy that essentially provided a $20,000 death benefit. So if any pilot died while in the sport, you got a $20,000 death benefit paid to your estate. And that was linked to the personal accident insurance policy for overseas competitions. The death benefit cover part of it essentially became unaffordable because over a 2-year period we had 7 or 8 pilots die or something like that. So essentially the insurance, that policy became unaffordable. We couldn't afford to do that and have the aviation insurance policy that covers all of the stuff that we do around Australia for 3,000 pilots, or 3,500 pilots.
So there is one other thing you can get in Europe, which is like a semi-professional sporting insurance, where they recognise you doing stupid dangerous sports, and unfortunately that means you're under like German or French law. So, and it's not the truth.
Have your accident in Italy, they've got reciprocal Medicare.
What does the Australian mean
Okay.
when they sell?
Or is it
Which goes back to when SAFA looked into this. Has SAFA looked into it with the exclusion of the repatriation expenses? Because we know we can get the repatriation expenses through global rescue, which would be a huge amount of the risk tag. So is there an opportunity for looking at personal accident insurance just for local medical expenses?
Look, perhaps the competition committee could ask us again. We'd go to our brokers, we'd ask our broker to have a look at it. But to be honest, I think it's unlikely that we would have like a SAFA policy funded by 3,500 members to support the few members that are competing overseas.
Sure,
That's the-
but SAFA could do the work to find out for people whether they could individually apply for such a policy.
Yeah, so that we could do that. We'd go to our brokers and say, what can you do for pilots individually? And can you craft an individual insurance policy with somebody that our pilots could individually go and get, right? So we could do that.
Okay, thanks.
So do all competitions overseas require some level of involvement?
Usually only third-party liability, and you can get that from AXA in Austria. Organised by an Australian, really. Seppenberger, isn't it? He lives in Australia 6 months a year, and he will sell. He sells actual medical to 30,000 as well for comps. So that is enough insurance for all of Europe.
Yeah. Unless it's...
I don't know about America. You're pretty much uninsurable in America. You just got to insure yourself. But certainly for European flying, that's adequate for all the comps.
Has that policy been tested?
Yeah, it's done all the time.
For Australian, as in someone's done an accident, it's all worked, till we find?
Yes. Yeah. That insurance, like it's all Euro pilots use that insurance.
Yeah, it's like a Eurozone travel insurance with an extension for competition. For FAI categorised.
Yeah. FAI Cat 2.
So not excellent.
And all Cat 1?
It is excellent. No, not exactly. Yeah. But yeah, for Cat 2 specifically for FAI.
So PwC, how do you...
That's what we use. So we use that for PwC. But
It's expensive. It runs $200 a week.
there are other insurances that you test, like the guarantee right? So the professional sporting insurance in Germany and France, that will almost certainly cover it. But the law, my French and the German's not good enough to understand the law around it. The Schengen insurance you can get doesn't exclude anything. Like you need to be able to get medical coverage for Schengen, and there's no specific exclusions.
It's 18 grand.
That's 100,000 euros. But none of us have tested it, so maybe they'll be glad of that. But that's Belgium AXA, and Belgium AXA used to do unlimited medical for anything except motorsport until Bear Grylls spoke up. But yeah, so that's a possibility too. But again, I don't know if anyone's tested it.
Yeah, but there is limit to 100,000.
Yeah, but 100,000 euros would be enough for your medical coverage to get, and then if you've got global rescue, you get repatriated, you get okay.
And as we know from Alex's accident, you can be really fucked up and get a private jet back.
Yeah, so the repatriation for Alex was about 250,000, but his medical was nothing with that, right?
Yeah.
So Alex had that insurance.
No. But we know the cost. We know the cost of that repatriation, right?
Mm.
Yes.
So
It's a comparison.
yeah, and that was with a with an air ambulance from Middle East to Australia. So,
It was probably the worst case, right? So
Yeah.
that's the most to go outside of the US. Stop having accidents. They just look at the numbers and go, you guys can't make this.
it's ironic because the
Just moving on to